Now, first of all, maybe we need to distinguish a bit, because we can talk SMEs, but at the same time, we can talk small caps. You know, a lot of companies are really trading at distressed valuations right now. So you really need to make that distinction. But focusing on the SMEs and looking at the way it's structured for the market today, we do know that the NSE has a special, if you like, second tier listing arrangement for SMEs. Can you talk to us about the activity you're seeing in that space?
Definitely, there have not been any major activities on that sector, and most things are responsible for that. Number one is corporate governance, because some of those people that will be listed there before were not really giving their reports in terms of corporate governance, and some of them were suspended also in the exchange, and some of them become moribund. So, and the exchange is delisting some of them. So they've not been really confident in that area, because it has been long when you see from that sector, you see somebody releasing results. So for now, investors' apathy in that area is very high. Nobody wants to touch.
You mentioned that somehow are now moribund, very little investor interest and activity in that space. I think this probably reflects the challenges that SMEs are facing in Nigeria. Access to capital can be a challenge. I mean, if we have the primary market being so slow in Nigeria, even for the bigger names, you can imagine the challenges that SMEs have to face. And of course, the opportunities for financing are limited. The banks tend to be very conservative with SMEs. You have a few banks like Diamond Bank being a bit focused on the SME space. But your thoughts on the challenge that SMEs face in Nigeria today?
Yeah, it could be all a you could look at it at a broader perspective and say some of the challenges the SMEs find themselves in also are caused by some of those SME companies, because some of them doesn't really have a laid down outline on how they want their business to be run. They don't have a good financial management style. Sometimes some of this SME business wants to be run like a one-man business. They don't have structures. So when you don't have structure, most banks are not ready to give you a loan, because it's more or less like giving an individual loan. And some of these SME don't really even have, some of them don't even have background knowledge in what they are doing. They just see that that's all commerce affair. Let's give you an instance. During the boom, we have many people going into oil and gas. They don't really know much about oil and gas, because the banks were lending to them that time. Most of them were busy doing oil and gas. So you could look at that as one of the challenges that make banks not ready to loan money to some of these SME. Then again, you look at the other SME that are even doing well, then banks not ready to give them loan. And you know the main problem with the banks has to do with liquidity, and sometimes because of the high risk management they see in giving loan to SMEs. So those are areas that could be addressed. And let's give an example, like the agricultural aspect of SME businesses. Government gave loan about 200 billion. It lied there so long, nobody was able to access it because they could not meet some of the criteria that are needed.
Okay. But we see the NSE now coming to the table, trying to support, at least with respect to investor relations. They're putting some structures in place for companies, and of course the SMEs hopefully should benefit from that. Your thoughts on if you think that initiative may boost that sector at all?
Definitely, it will boost that sector, but that initiative alone from the exchange will not boost the sector without those people that are managing those SME to cooperate with them. It's one thing to come up with an idea. It's another thing for the company that will be listed to be able to fit into some of these requirements that the SME. Definitely, the exchange is going to give them some requirements which they have to meet. So I think very few SME in Nigeria are going to meet those requirement.
Maybe we can even switch the focus a bit now to what I call the small caps. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, we do have quite a number of companies trading on distressed evaluations. The insurance sector is a space that many people are talking about now. Your thoughts on the upside potential for some of these small cap companies?
When you talk insurance company, it more or less, sometimes it's mixed feelings, because if you look at them, most of them are really actually trading at a distressed level, like you rightly pointed out. Just a few like ICO, that are, moving up, beginning to move now. All the others are still trading at distressed level. Okay, or during the week, NEM also moved to about 54 kobo. So if you look at that again, you look at investors' confidence in that area has been very, very low. Not forgetting that people were thinking they are going to rise like the banks. And so when they didn't meet investors' expectation, people are actually running away from there. And again, the other thing again you have to look at that area is has to boil down to liquidity. And again, liquidity in the hands of investors to play that area. And sometimes again, investors are not even ready to take risks in those areas. Most of the investors that we have in this area are speculators. So once it gets to buy at 50 call, once it got to 52, 54 call, they want to sell immediately. So that also brings down the value of the stock.
All right, Muktar, thank you so much for joining.